This is the Media Police Post, broadcasting from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this show, we police the state of truth in the Republic. And because truth is communicated to us by journalists and analysts, we have made it our civic duty to put it to the test. We advance from two confirmed truths about the media. One, and according to Roger Stone, the media is either lazy or evil. And for the most part, it is both evil and lazy. That is why the truth, their truth, must be put to a test.
And two, that journalism is verified gossip. In fact, what is presented to us as news analysis is gossip that has been verified by journalists. This gossip has to be ground-truthed. We will assess the state of truth in what they submit to the Republic, and we will pass verdict on what is true and what is not. For the record, we are not journalists. We are thinkers. We are not lazy or evil, and we do not verify gossip. What we give you is the truth that sets you free.
On today's show, we will discuss ideas that reflect unformed and uninformed opinions, and ideas that made you feel stupid. Narratives that fell into the cognitive trap of we see things as we are, not as they are. Narratives based on conjecture history and those that smack of envelope journalism. Welcome CS and Ms. K.
Thank you.
Asante. Ruto is a master of reverse psychology. And he is already playing that psychology on our psyche. He has conjured on the imagination of the nation the image of a man who has already won the election. Like an effective political pickpocket, he has set the country up. This is how a good pickpocket works. He will set up a sign on a busy street reading, "Beware pickpocket." And each time people see that sign, they naturally touch the pocket where the wallet is. This directs the clever pickpocket to where the loot is. And this is what Ruto is doing. For instance, his intention is to pick the political pocket of the Mulembe nation. He tells us on the one hand that Musalia Mudavadi has joined him. And then they do a few trips together across the country. Then at night, the chairman of his party, Mudama, comes out and says, this is not what it seems like. Musalia is not a coalition partner. He is just a friend. What this means is that Mudavadi is just a pickpocket sign leading us to the treasure in the Mulembe nation. And that is what Ruto did with Gema Nation. Ruto went to the mountain and put up a plaque, "Beware pickpocket." Then this directed him to the actual Gema treasures. Little did Gema know that he was a political pickpocket. This is very superior thinking. Back to the nation. The cleverness of William Ruto is that he's using what is known as a strawman argument. This is where you invent a claim or imaginary opponent with the aim of making it easy to deconstruct or oppose it. Ruto has constructed two imaginary opponents. One, that he will win the election, and two, that the deep state is incapable of stealing his victory. It is on this basis that he has asked Raila to accept defeat long before the election has happened. The genius of this imaginary construction is to build a background of acceptance. Should he lose the election, he will have conditioned the mind of the nation that he was a true winner, but the election was stolen. This is good grounds for precipitating a crisis and forcing a coalition the way Raila did in 2007. In sum, if Ruto loses, he wins. If he wins, he wins. That is the result of the psychological warfare he's playing on the nation. But what do the numbers tell us, Ms. K?
Let me answer that. But first, let me state this. Last week, Elias Mukua published a column in the Standard titled "Why We Are Unlikely to Have a Presidential Election Runoff." The article sounded clever, but when we interrogated the methodology, specifically how he arrived at his conclusions, it is nothing but a series of musings constructed from the cleverness of his head. Allow me to explain why. Despite a good show in 2013, President Kenyatta and William Ruto managed to pass the 50% plus one margin by only 62,000 votes. In fact, one school of thought believes that they crossed the 50% plus one mark by only 8,000 votes. Note, the 2013 election had an obvious object of aggression, ICC, and the highest turnout in the history of our electoral politics at 86%. So according to our science, the 50% plus one mark in the 2022 election will be 7.62 million. This figure is calculated using the current voter register and a turnout average of 6 elections spanning 30 years. Now, if for you to pass the 50% plus one mark, you need 7.6 million votes, what numbers do Raila, Ruto, and Oka have? So using history and statistics from the 6 elections, Raila's starting point without the Kikuyus is 5.06 million voters. Ruto's is 3.84 million voters, also without the Kikuyus, and Oka is at 1.7 million. If you were to take the Gema vote now and split it into 2, Raila would get 2.3 million votes, Ruto would also get 2.3 million votes. This takes Raila to 7.36 million votes and Ruto would go to 6.14 million.
Okay.
Even with Gema at 7.3 million votes, Raila would get close to 7.6, but nobody would pass the 50% plus one mark. And it is this math that makes a runoff inevitable. But there is a twist to this political fate, and it lies in the hands of Kalonzo Musyoka. Like him or hate him, this Wiper man will be the kingmaker in this election. If his 1.7 million votes is given to Raila Odinga, Raila's starting point without the Kikuyus would be 6.7 million votes. But let us assume that President Uhuru Kenyatta still has some influence in Gema, even in Kiambu alone. All Raila needs from him is 860,000 votes to cross the 50% plus one mark. Surely, for what he is worth, Uhuru can deliver this and more. What is my point here? The man with the key to unlock the runoff is Kalonzo Musyoka. Take it or leave it, that is the 2022 election post-truth.
Wow. Okay, so allow me to switch gears briefly. This week, William Ruto labeled Raila Odinga a state project. Here at the Fifth Estate, we do not disagree. Yes, we want to confirm to the country that Raila Odinga is a state project. And there's nothing wrong with being a state project. Vladimir Putin was a state project created by the Kremlin. Joe Biden is a project of the American deep state to remedy the Trump disruption. Emerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe was a project of the alternative state, and Masisi Mokwetsi of Botswana was a state project. All of this just goes to show that state projects do actually succeed. In fact, the reason why William Ruto is successful so far is because for 30 years he has been a state project. He was hatched like an egg by the Moi state. Then the state mother hen sat on Ruto like a broody hen and warmed his shell until he hatched into a KANU Youth winner in 1992. Our hypothesis is that this is why Ruto likes chicken. He is the offspring of the KANU Jogo. Even right now as we speak, he lives in a house owned by the state. The sausages, lamb chops, drumsticks, and vegetables he eats are grown by the state. The fleet of 20 cars he drives is owned by the state. And the 250 GSU Elite Guard do not belong to Nairobi Baptist Church. They belong to the state. So who is the state project now? He should not disown his state parentage, and he should also not insult it. You don't insult the Jogo that gave birth to you. As for Raila Odinga, he will succeed because he has the backing of the state. The only time a state project does not succeed is if the incumbent is incompetent, and Uhuru Kenyatta is far from being incompetent. In our view, William Ruto is suffering from sour grape syndrome. This comes from the story about the fox and the grapes. A fox seeing a juicy bunch of grapes hanging from a vine at a high branch, but unable to reach them no matter how hard he tries, walks away declaring that the grapes were probably sour anyway, and thus he never wanted them in the first place. Likewise, Ruto is attacking RAILA because RAILA took the state privilege from him. To Raila Odinga we say, Ka ngumu. Columnists, you have been put on note.
See you next week.